Hey everyone, my name is Gabriela Gonzalez, and I'm going to narrate a slideshow on a professional development course that I did back in January 2018 for my staff. This is actually my first professional development that I've actually done, and the title of it is called Take Your Knowledge and Do Something with It. And this is based off of some information that I got at a conference that I attended back in December at U of H. So I started off the conference by talking about New Year's resolutions. So for the majority of people, their resolution was to lose weight or to live a more active lifestyle or to eat healthier. And we talked about how many people have actually started going to the gym, and a couple people actually did. And so we talked about how the first step for any resolution is getting out of bed in the morning. And your bed is your comfort zone. It's where you're the most comfortable, where you feel secure. It's hard to get out of your bed because it's so warm. It's familiar. We all know that feeling. So I shared a story about my New Year's resolution that I started CrossFit, and there I am in the back. This was one of the coldest days in December, and it was raining, and they sent us outside to run like 2 miles. And yes, that look on my face is me regretting my decision to even go that day. But I got out of bed, I went to the gym, and I got it done. And now that I'm a little more into it, I'm starting to see my results. And that could have never happened if I didn't take that first step of getting out of my comfort zone. And then the teachers and I discussed about what is holding you back from using technology. And a lot of the teachers said, well, it's scary. It's something new. It's something that's unfamiliar. And a lot of the teachers were worried that they would look stupid in front of their students because the students probably know more about technology than they do. But I told them the more you use it, the easier it gets. But you have to take that first step of getting out of your comfort zone. So then you have to get out of your comfort zone, put in the work, and then you see results. But it all starts with getting out of that comfort zone. After that discussion, we talked a little bit about authentic audiences and working collaboratively. We did a poll real quick about words that describe students. After we talked about that, the teachers were using words like silly, engaged, intriguing. One of the words that I shared with them are performer or is performers. And the reason why is because students have to practice the material and they need a real audience to present their material to. It's kind of a shame in education now where we spend so much time drilling the information into the students' heads and they don't really get to do anything with it. And that's what I liked about this conference is it really got me thinking about how my students can perform, how they can present their knowledge in new and creative ways. This is a visual from Derek Bruff, who presented at the conference as well. And he talked about students as being producers, scholars, creators, researchers, performers, and designers. And I think putting these categories for your students kind of helps teachers branch out with their assignments and give a little more personalization into how the students can display their mastery. And we went into talking about the 4 C's: communicating effectively, thinking critically, working collaboratively, and using creativity. I learned this at the conference as well, and I started thinking about how to use this in my lessons more than anything else, because I feel like this is a really good framework for when you're planning, to be able to use these with your students in order to enhance your lesson and to get these students thinking on a deeper level. Going back to authentic audiences, we talked about who would you perform harder for? One person, a room of people, or a global audience? And of course, we all picked the global audience. Of course, you're going to work harder if the whole world can see it as opposed to if just one person to see it. And usually that one person is the teacher. Usually, students hand in their assignment, the teacher grades it, they hand it back to the student, and nobody else gets to really see their work. So we discussed a time or two where we observed students as producers of knowledge. And some of the teachers had a hard time answering this question because a lot of it in my school district is still teacher-driven education that we're starting to get away from now. So this started a really good discussion about what can we do to make learning more student-centered and less teacher-driven. And we talked about how students must feel sometimes when we go on too long in our lectures, and we talked about how it's kind of like the teacher in the Peanuts comics where she would just start going wah 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 wah, and we got a little bit of a couple laughs out of the room for that because they all agreed that yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. I have a little video clip of the teacher speaking. I'm sure that some of my students have felt that way, but I'm trying to get better. This is one of the quotes from the conference that I really enjoyed. Show me your knowledge in as many ways as possible. So not just a worksheet, not just an essay or some paper that just one person sees. Show me how you can apply your knowledge. What can you use this knowledge for? And I think that helps the students make real world connections and gives meaning to what they're learning as well. There's another quote: take your knowledge and do something with it. Don't just sit there. Don't just have it in your head. Apply it. Use it. Do something creative with it. And this is something that is especially important in kindergarten because these students have like a 10-minute attention span and they're gone. So really having that real world application, having them actually be able to do hands-on assignments and solve problems on their own really helps with student engagement. So then we had a little bit of time to talk with each other about the different applications we use in the classroom. The teachers had a bunch of really good ideas. This was a great opportunity for them to kind of see what other people and other grade levels were doing and to get some ideas for themselves. And then we talked about if those apps promote the 4 C's in their classroom. Then I went and shared some of the things that I learned at the conference, like easel.ly for infographics. And one of the second grade teachers actually started using this one and has really enjoyed it. She said that her students were able to use it very nicely, and I think she used it for something with freckle juice. I think it was like a story timeline or a little infographic about the characters. Another one that I shared was free photo effects at photofunia.com, and I told them that they could use the museum ones for first, next, and last, or historical figures, timelines, even important events in history. There's lots of different things that you can use these filters with. Another one that I touched on is digital storytelling that I got from Dr. Robin at U of H. He has a lot of good resources on this subject matter, and I'm starting to try and get my kindergarteners to kind of do this. It's still like in the beginning phases, but we're working a little harder on it each day, and I hope that someday it'll be ready, especially to integrate into my lesson plans next year. I said one of the easiest ways to get kids to think deeper and for them to be able to create their own products is to leave questions open-ended. This gives them more time to think and it doesn't limit their responses. And with that, you're able to support their autonomy. So we still didn't answer the question about how to have the students present to an authentic audience. And of course, the easiest way, post on social media, which is kind of scary for the teachers, but we kind of talked about different ways that you can do it. And it's a great way to introduce digital citizenship. But having that global audience makes kids work with meaning. They're seeing that there is a point to what they're doing and they're more motivated to produce a product that they have actually devoted their time to, maybe even put their heart and soul into, because they see that this is for a purpose. One of the ways that my kids present to a global audience, or at least, other classrooms, is Flipgrid. My kids absolutely love Flipgrid in kindergarten. They're able to collaborate with other people from other classes. It's fantastic. I totally would recommend Flipgrid, and I was able to promote this on my campus, and a lot of other grade levels are using it now, and they all like it. Then we talked about this quote: letting someone know that they're wrong versus letting someone know that you want them to do better. And we talked about how even teachers need to keep this in mind, because sometimes we're too worried about, meeting deadlines, that we kind of forget that these are kids and that we need to motivate them. So this isn't only just for students commenting on each other's posts, but it's for us as educators as well, to remember that we need to make sure kids know that we're just trying to push them to the next level and not just trying to put them down. And then we did the origami challenge, where basically the point was that I was promoting authentic engagement because everybody was into it. But another thing that the origami challenge showed us is that there are different ways to get the same thing. Other people folded the heart perfectly. Some people tore the paper around the edges. Other people just did some wacky stuff to make their hearts. But it was really fun to see what everyone came up with. And that was kind of the point that I wanted to make in my presentation, was that it was an open-ended prompt, make a heart, make it your way. But for the most part, everybody made a heart and it was all okay. So that was my segue into transforming learning into collaborative inquiry and having kids take initiative for what they want to learn. We talked about how every problem needs a solution. It starts with empathy, to define the problem, ideate, prototype, and test. And we talked about empathy and about how you need that in your classrooms. Then we talked about activity and average retention rate. That teaching others for immediate use of learning is 90%. So if you can get kids to teach another kid what they know, that's one of the highest forms of mastery. And we talked about the difference between sit and get versus stand and deliver. Do you want your kids to just sit there and absorb all the knowledge through osmosis or like a sponge? Or do you want them to actually take command of the room and put their knowledge into real world applications and to be confident, leadership skills, and show everybody what they know? Talk a little bit about digital feedback, just different ways to produce feedback, recording your voice instead of just writing on the paper. But we talked about how the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. The objectives are always the main thing, and the technology is supposed to be there to enhance the lesson. If the technology is not doing anything to enhance the lesson, then maybe you need to rethink your technology. And that was the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for watching.